Hey everybody, it's Tuesday and welcome to me, Joyce, hanging out with my friend Deja, the root doctress. Once again, we are hanging out. I'm in Florida, she's in Oakland. We are gonna talk about water. We being strange, elemental, witchy, whatever you want to call what we are.
Right.
Strange women that work in the world of what you don't see with your eyes, but is actually more real than what you see with your eyes, who do work with the land, who do work with the plants, with the water, with the spirit, with the ancestor, with the elemental. We have been having a lot of experiences about the way that the water is changing in very dynamic ways. Deja just got back from, if you are a subscriber to her channel, you know that she was in the Bahamas and she had some interesting water experiences. I don't know if she's going to share those or not, but yeah, we're both experiencing a lot of interesting things going on with water. And so I just thought that it would be cool to for us to chat about that again. Um, so I'll shut up and I'll let you share a little bit, talk a little bit. For people that don't know who you are, please, my dear, let people know who you are and what you do.
Awesome. Yeah, I'm the root doctress. I primarily work with sacred sites and earth grids, telling their stories, restoring their power, dispelling any occult geomancy that's on top of them. Recently, I've been coming into the fullness of holding cacao circles in the Bay Area so that we can all come together and activate these sacred sites with the plant medicine of cacao.
Yes.
And that's what I'm doing.
But you're also, for people that don't understand, you're also a botanical person.
Yes.
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 Yeah.
I do work directly with the plants in medicinal and spiritual forms.
And tinctures and such.
Yeah.
So in our own way, we kind of do a lot of the same stuff. All the way that she very beautifully articulated, described the kind of work she does on the land, removing what I would call frequency fences and disruptive frequencies, um, plasma walls. We talk differently, but we do essentially the same thing, making room for the ancestral wisdom to move through the elemental ether to come into our telepathic understanding, the way our ancestors lived, a little smoother.
That's beautiful.
So she works with cacao in a very challenging place, the San Francisco Bay Area, my old home. She's from my last home in California. She's from Oakland. So yeah, so we were talking, we have different words, but we have found that we talk about a lot of the same stuff, and do very similar work, especially with geomancy. And the thing about geomancy and the water and Akash is just so prevalent. With the changes that are happening with the plasma storms around the sun, we were talking about how, and I am not the only person that brings this up, lots of people do, including geophysicists have been talking about this too. So this isn't just woo-woo. In fact, I can't remember his name now, but the guy at Suspicious Observers, who is a geophysicist, has been talking about this day coming, this time coming for years. I've been following that guy for 5 or 6 or more years, and he's been talking about this time coming. And almost a re-entry into the Younger Dryas, when there will be massive changes to the earth and water and land. And so it is so important as we move into what is already happening and what is going to continue to be massive earth weather polarity changes, that we find our connections at a cellular fractal level to the world around us, because it's the only thing that's going to ground us. And the water in so much of the world is asleep. It's asleep. The Akash is hypnotized. It's there, but it's asleep. There have been what I call frequency fences, malevolent frequencies cast upon it. I did a video about the supposed angels at Lake Mead at Hoover Dam that I think are tuning forks, and that they have been casting through all that water that was behind Hoover Dam malevolent frequencies. That puts people to sleep, activating our root chakra, activating the 440 hertz A instead of the 436, for instance. There's just so much amnesia. And certainly where I live in St. Augustine, which is an absolute slaughter site for a very, very long time, and yet it's this massive tourist attraction. So all that loss and death and truth in the water, in the Akash, is trapped in the amnesia. And I know as a Hoodooan, you certainly work in that realm too. So I think I just wanted to, we didn't really have a script or anything about what we were going to talk about, but we wanted to talk about water. And yeah, I just said a lot right there. So I'll shut up for a minute and let you talk now.
Okay. I think there's a feedback. I was making sure I didn't have a feedback, but I don't hear it anymore.
Oh.
But yeah, settling into that. And when you brought up Akash, I was trying to find a recent dream that I had with that, but I can't find it. So that's funny when you said amnesia. I'm like, oh, okay, it doesn't want to talk right now. But you know, as I was saying before, I do see a connection with, as the water is warming and the wind is sweeping over the waters that are warming, the wind will be basically picking up the energies of the water and displacing it throughout the world. And as the wind carries, you know, new memories, as you said, the awakened water, as you say, bacteria that hasn't been around. And then as it lands on the earth and settles into our bodies, into our atmosphere, we will experience things in our ecosystems that we've never seen before, because the wind is carrying these foreign memories, bacteria, beings into our atmospheres. And I've been feeling that, I've been witnessing that, meaning even on the land I'm on, there's a change in how people are moving. I am in the Bay Area, so you might see us on the news a lot. It's like this big wave of energy of how people are reacting, whether it be violence, whether it be, I don't know, it's just chaotic. And I really feel like as these activations are going on, people that are not calibrated are trying to fight against it, and they don't even know what they're fighting against.
Yep.
It's resulting in like this, you know, like this body shock.
Yeah.
And for me, doing the work of of knowing it was coming and having to interact with all these people that are literally just like, it is so overwhelming that you're compelled to like be in retreat mode. And that's what I've been sitting with lately, you know. um
Absolutely. We were both talking about how it's hard in different ways for us to go out into the world. Deja, of course, because it literally is dangerous where she lives. I mean, crime is at an all-time um, guiltless high, right? And with me, I live in a very safe place, but I'm I'm so I'm so into my growing silicate nature that having to put on the guards around it to go out and even go to the grocery store is
mhm,
a big freaking deal. It's
mhm.
hard. It takes a lot of energy. I come home from the grocery store and have to take a nap.
Yeah, same. Like somebody asked me to do a video today and I already knew I was doing this, and I was like, this is what I'm allocating Tuesday's energy to. It's really like that. Like you just need a nap.
Yeah, yeah, there's a lot.
Mm,
So I love what you said about the water changing and the water warming. My experience, and this is not something that is unique to me, there are other people that have talked about it. It just really rings true. And in remote viewing or whatever you want to call it, I have seen it as well. Um, the melting of the glacial waters and the changing of the earth around them is, as you say, releasing things back into the environment that have not been seen for millions of years. That includes things that have been locked in permafrost, like bacteria,
yeah.
viruses. What made you jump just now?
Because you said frost and you made me remember something.
Okay, okay. So what stuff that was locked in permafrost, like bacteria and viruses and all kinds of stuff that we don't have the antibodies for. Though maybe in our very ancient DNA we do, but also there are frequencies of the way the water was. The water on the earth used to be more alive
Mm,
than it is now.
yeah.
The water that was on the earth, the water that is locked in the glaciers, was the internet. That's how I see it. And now that is melting and being re-released, which is reactivating the life in all the water. So all that amnesia that we have cast over the water is being broken up by the polarity of the water that's being released. So of course, people don't have any choice. They don't have any choice. The forces that are changing the plasma and ether we live in is changing us. It's
Mhm.
changing us and making us more silicate. And we don't have any choice. But the people who have no connection with their consciousness at all are losing their shit.
Ain't that right? And when you said permafrost, I've been having a lot of dreams with merfolk, and a lot of it lately, as you said, the glacial ice
Mhm.
is melting, has been about mer people that were between land and water that were permanently pushed into the water because of being ousted for who they were and what they were trying to do. And a reoccurrence of when they were pushed into the water and then they went deep and stayed there is they passed on things to gatekeepers, meaning they
Mhm.
had allies that promised to hold their stories until it's
Mm.
time. And I had one dream where it was based in the swamp, and basically it was a mer person that went between land and water, who was in the Gulf of Mexico swamp wetlands,
Mm.
and she went against a brotherhood. And when they found out her power, they didn't know she was a merfolk. When they found out her power, of course, they labeled her a witch, and they literally drowned her in a swamp. But there were these women, and they came to me as like Olmec women that prayed over those waters and basically kept her energy alive. And in my dream, she reemerged with like a giant squid, and she reemerged like literally coming for vengeance. And so when you said frost, that really jolted me because it reminded me of that dream. And that also connects with a lot of these certain bacteria that are really rare that have been coming back. And I'm just really connecting that because I'm like, that's a part of that vengeance thing, you know, that bacteria that's coming into the waters. And then with the frost one was, I recently also had a dream where the mer people were frozen underwater.
I see
And
that too. I see that too. Yeah.
yeah,
Not
yeah,
dead, but
right.
they're so silicate. They're
Mhm,
so silicate that they
mhm,
can be frozen like quartz, and they
mhm.
just change. I'm sorry, I interrupted you.
No,
They're,
that's beautiful because like it's a conversation, like, you know, and
yeah.
I'm glad that you resonate with that because the particular one that was frozen, like it was like she used to glow even while she was frozen, but then the glow went out. So I don't know if that's a sign that it's because she's breaking out of the permafrost or what that means.
Mm.
But yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I'm seeing all of that. Yeah, I see them frozen too, but they're again, they're so silicate that it's like what people call the primary water is the water
Mhm,
that comes out of the center of the earth, right? It comes out of what people call Agartha and rises up and comes out through Hyperborea and through all of the streams. You know,
mhm.
the image for the Ace of Cups is the true fountain of youth at Hyperborea, right? So that's the real water. That's the water that used to cover the earth. That's the water that allowed all the star forts to work. That was the internet. Um,
And you saying that, that's probably why in the Bahamas that when I got into those sacred waters,
yes, yes.
why I felt like I was being pulled down because they're just like, it's time. Oh, you're here to help. I'm like, I'm here on vacation. That's probably why.
Yeah, well, there are pyramids there. You used to be able to see them on Google Earth. You can't anymore. But you know, it was interesting because I've been doing a series of videos about the Great Lakes, and as I was saying, when I start a video, I don't have an agenda. I just start looking.
I love that.
And one of the amazing things that I discovered about Lake Superior is there are at least 2 lakes under Lake Superior. People have been in them, if you can imagine that. If you can imagine a whole other lake under Lake Superior, technically um, under Duluth is where they found it, is basically under Duluth. Um, Water that has creatures that have no eyes because there's no light, and they're white or clear because there's no need for pigmentation because there's no sunlight.
Mhm.
Visuals don't matter. You don't need colors for different kinds of, right, marking identification.
That's right.
Um, you know, entire caves of rose quartz and,
Mm.
you know, um, and that in an area that we were also discussing, Kurameo Ahau, and I forgive me for not saying his name correctly if I didn't, the gentleman who speaks a lot about uh, the Americas being the old world. We're not the new world, we're the old world. We are older than the old world. And he speaks in his recent video, actually, about the oldest water and therefore the oldest land and the oldest fossils have been found in the Laurentian Band in Canada. The oldest water.
Yeah.
Deep, deep,
Can't wait
deep,
to watch
deep
that.
in that fossil bacteria laden area, that stinky sulfuric water that bubbles up, 4 billion years old, full of hematite.
Mm.
Incredibly powerful mineralized water, the oldest water. And I was fascinated with that, but then I was thinking about that at least two lakes are underneath Lake Superior. Well, that's the same place. Geologically, that's the same place. Lake Superior is not that far from, the Laurentian Range in Ontario. So talk about water, the truth of the water that exists in the earth, the lakes and oceans and sources of water that are created in the earth that have nothing to do with the rain cycle or evaporation, the water that's in the earth.
Exactly. And that's why I have about 10 gallons of Mount Shasta water right here. Because I really feel like that water is the type of water you're talking about. Very alive, coming deep, and then springing up through the Mount Shasta.
That's supposed to be a source of primary water, is Mount Shasta.
I
Yeah.
believe it. And speaking to Ahu, and I wanted to read something that came to me a couple months ago, because with that original America thing, I can sit with that. And I also think there's a story of seafaring where there was a back and forth between various continents, and different groups may sit with different lands and say that they're from there, but really they've been traveling between, let's say, the American East Coast, the African West Coast, and Yucatan area. They've been traveling in this triangle forever.
Yeah.
So it's like, whatever year you come into, you may sit with that you're from that land, but really there's been this cycle. And what I got was something that goes like, reaching back to forgotten memory while living on ancient future land, we rose from this dust, then dissolved in its fire to birth from its water. We are now in the beginnings, and by when we are here, we're there, we're never there, we're always here, always there, soon here. So it's like, we've been in this cycle. And you can find the stories wherever you choose to look for it. So I can't wait to watch both of those videos, the Lake Superior and his water video.
Oh yeah, Aho's water video. Yeah, of course, his videos, you need to sit down with a notepad because he has so much information. So much information. And yeah, I mean, in our own way, we're both trying to be a part of that, of people are going to come to their own terms with things at their own rate. But we're both called to assist in that process, or be like those matrons that prayed over the swamp to preserve that woman's keep her frequency in the water. Oh, that was another thing I wanted to talk about. You were talking about how tradition goes that this woman's spirit came back with a squid.
Yeah.
And I think, the whole cluthotic imagery, the squids, uh, the squid being like Medusa, like Pandora, like all of that, twisted, turned, changed, demonized, and instead of the fact that the clothotic squiddy energy actually represents the archaic first form beings, right? Instead of looking at it that way, it's been completely twisted and turned, like Mary Magdalene and mermaids, right? Turned into sirens, right? And demonized, like all things squid are bad. Well, I have been seeing the squids coming back too. And in some of the spiritual and energetic work that I've been doing with some people lately, there's squid imagery that's coming in.
Wow, really? That's amazing.
Yes, yes. I was working on a client the other day, and you never know. You do spiritual work too. You never know what you're going to find when you try to do a frequency clearing or a balancing. You don't know what's going to come through your body. You don't know. You never know. You just have to keep your container clear and stay focused on whatever you call God and spirit, and let the energy move through you. And there were squids and worms that were moving between this person and myself. And then there was another incident where I was doing a remote session with someone and I was seeing all this squid energy. And just like everything else, when you were just telling that story about that woman coming back with a squid, it kind of clicked to me, because in these two instances, when I was doing this work, this clearing work, my initial reaction was, oh, these are squids and worms. And my first reaction was, this must be something harmful moving out of her, right? That was my first reaction, because we're stuck in that concept of things, right? And you don't know how influenced you are by the frequencies around you until you have an opportunity to look at them and go, oh, maybe that's not what that means. But as my first reaction was that, oh, okay, we're moving worms and squids out of you. Okay, that's good. But then, of course, I, as you, after the effect, will go back and say, squid form, worm form, whatever form you are, what other information do you have that can be helpful to make this sharing of information more valuable for all of us, right?
Yeah, that's fair, because it did come into my conscious as like aggressive and paired with vengeance, but that's a really fair point. The squid probably had a lot more to say, and I probably automatically associated that presence with a certain energy. That's fair. Whoa, okay, so we have squid and worms coming through.
But
because squid never usually comes to me. It's usually like crocodile or water snake. So that was a new one for me.
because they're in the deep, dark
Yes,
water.
because the
And
waters are changing.
the waters are changing. Yes. Yes. And
Aha.
yes. And when I talked to the client who my vessel became a transit point for the squids and worms to move in and out of her, the information that I was able to garner the next day when I texted her was that basically an image of, and that's so interesting what you just said about your story. Think of what a squid can do. A squid could be a big 10-foot creature that can fit through an inch hole if it has to, right? We've all seen those videos on YouTube and such about, there was a squid that got stuck in some tanker somewhere, and it fit through this little tiny hole, this big squid, several feet in diameter and in length, that fit through this tiny little like drain hole and got itself back into the ocean. So if you think of squid or the clythotic energy, right, as the deepest of the deep, the darkest of the dark, the oldest of the old, and that's what it is. What I was able to find words for was, now this person that I'm talking about is a very creative person that works with research and writing, right? Very intellectual, very a trained researcher, essentially, professional in that regard. But in that case, it was as high as you can soar into the light of intellect. It is time to balance to the squids beneath you and the worms beneath you. That's what I got from that. But then as I looked further, and after the other experience that I had, the remote session, it's other things that are coming back. The squids aren't bad. They represent a very archaic form of incredible biology. I mean, they change colors and shoot out ink. You know, they vanish. But because they've been in the dark recesses, we're scared to death of them. Well, doesn't that represent us? Doesn't that represent our own shadow, or whatever you want to call that force? And the water and the light are forcing all of that to the surface. And yes, the squid that came up with that woman deserves to be vengeful, right? But that squid doesn't have to be vengeful. It's just, it can muster that power. That squid energy protected her, right? And that's a return. That's like they projected all that hatefulness and fear onto her and killed her because of it. Well, she's coming back and putting the mirror in their faces, and it's a dark mirror, and it's saying, here you go. Scry on this, baby. Scry on this.
Yeah. For some reason, sweat is coming to me when you said that. Just because it's like that water release, that detox.
Yes, yes. That's what I think all the squiddy energy really right now is there's no reason. I mean, they live in the bottom of the dark ocean because that's their biology, but that doesn't mean that we need to fear them, right? And we cast upon them all of our fear and shame, and they're coming back now. They're coming back to hand our projections back to us so that we can integrate and become more whole, because everything is changing and you don't even have a choice. Your body is changing and you're going to evolve. You don't have a choice. You don't have a choice. You can go with it or you can fight. If you fight, well, you're still going to change. It's just going to be more painful.
Oh, y'all, please don't fight against it.
Yeah. But we each learn every week, right? I mean, we learn. You said that it was hard for you to get out of bed for a week, right? After your trip and the experiences with the Bahamian water. We learn, even though we think that we're connected to our elemental spirits, our mer spirits and whatnot, and we do elemental spiritual work, we still find out every week about how much more work we have to do. And that's why you were in bed. And that's why I was in bed a month ago with a bum ankle. There was nothing, you know, that was toxin and fear and shadow coming out of my body, fortunately. But it's so hard to, yeah, it's hard for people in the age of Google and cell phones, and I want it now to really let things come and process as they are. But, you know, and I talked about, I also firmly believe, because I'm seeing and experiencing this myself personally, as I think you are as well, one of the things that's coming with this return to the water of our ancestors is less need for the concept of teachers and more connection to our telepathic gifts.
Yeah, people aren't gonna like you saying that.
Oh, I know, I know.
And that was actually a part of it. Yeah, that was a part of it for me.
Not having to be taught to learn.
Yeah.
You don't learn when you're taught. You don't learn anything when you're taught. You learn to copy. That's not learning,
Mhm,
right?
mhm, mhm. Yeah, and some energetic signatures are so specific that, yeah, basically the certain teacher wouldn't even know what to teach me because it was very specific to my energetic signature.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Which is why you can't join groups where they say, let's all pray and all say these words together and all do this. You can't do that,
Yep.
you know? I'm sure you don't give people certain words to repeat after you when you do your cacao ceremony. I haven't been in a cacao ceremony with you, but
Oh,
I'm sure that's not what you do. You have your
no,
prayer and everybody has their own prayer.
exactly. Something that I like to do in general is like a heart activation where we breathe and then that's the song because that has to be unique.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Mm-hmm.
you're, you know. So that's the only repeat after me I would do is to breathe from the heart space.
Right. Because then you do log in. You do log into that clairvoyant place.
Exactly. Yeah. Um,
Do you still have tinctures and things available if people are interested? I should have warned you so you could pull that up on your computer. Do you want to?
uh,
Let me see if I can allow you to share
well,
this.
we can edit this part, but yeah, I actually been taking a break with the tinctures.
Okay. All right. I'm not
Yeah.
editing anything, so that's okay. Well, you were gone. That's okay. That's okay. I was trying to help promote that. Well, it's seasonal, right? It's seasonal, although I know you work with cypress, which is evergreen. But
Yeah.
you prepare all your, or you did prepare all your own botanicals, so it's not like you're an Amazon warehouse, and you work, I know, in great honor with the plants and the
I,
medicine that they provide. And so if you're out, you're out. You know, I know people that make their own essential oils too. They have their own distillery, they have their own stills, and they only make what is seasonal. And when they don't have any, they don't have any. So,
I've been so immersed with cacao, y'all. That's been the focus.
yeah, talk about that. That's fantastic. I love how, because so much of cacao right now is snake oil bull crap, you know, like light language. Like, don't even get me started on light language.
Oh, is that what cacao has been paired with? Oh my
No,
goodness.
no, no. I'm just saying is that people say, oh, well, you know, I do this stupid thing that I learned off of this thing I read. And then I'm going to pair it with a cacao ceremony because cacao ceremonies are popular and I don't know what I'm doing. But if I put this crap together, then I can sell this.
Yeah. And that's
So,
actually something
yeah.
I've been battling with is that I'm hoping that isn't the message because there is a stigma with cacao ceremonies
Mm-hmm,
right now
mm-hmm,
that honestly I didn't know existed because I didn't know what a cacao ceremony was. Cacao came to me in my dreams after I visited Costa Rica, and cacao wanted me to work with it as a medium to tell stories and to bridge different plant medicines together
mm,
as a drink. And unfortunately, once I started, learning more of cacao through my dreams, and then I found an elder who I respected to teach me more about cacao stories and how to
mm.
facilitate it in a respectful way, I came across all these cacao ceremonies that have light language and ecstatic dance and DJ
Yes.
set
Oh my
and
God.
cannabis. I was too deep into I was too deep in to know. Yeah, basically by the time I was so deep in, that's when I found out what cacao ceremonies are, the modern ones. So no,
But
that's not what I'm doing. My focus with cacao is ancestral work,
mhm.
celestial stories, trauma release. And yeah, those are the main things. So it's really just sitting with your internal medicine, diving into the roots, sitting into the trunk and expanding the branches.
Mhm.
Yeah. But that's funny though, because I only found out about that after I started the training. And I was like, oh, is that what they're doing out here with cacao?
They're not doing anything like you do. No, it's a bunch of crap. It's a bunch of
I
crap.
could,
It's something that people add to whatever their shtick is to charge more money
mhm,
for it or get more people. It's a
that
total
makes sense.
shtick.
That makes sense. Like I need something to pair this with so I can sell this. Yeah. And again, my focus are also sacred sites. And I
Mhm.
think the cow is the perfect bridge to bridge, those heartbeats together, the heartbeat of the site that
Yeah.
we want in our personal heartbeats. So like again, it was really finding the right medium and bridge to connect. So yeah, that's me. And it's funny because when I shared my cacao with somebody, they were like, oh, so they'll be dancing? And I'm like, dancing? Like I was literally
Oh,
confused until I found out like that's what's going on.
yeah.
I'm like,
Yeah.
dancing? What are you talking about?
That's like the antithesis of the cacao process is dancing. That's the polar opposite. No, no dancing.
And it's funny because it
Dance in
makes
your
me
spirit. Keep your body quiet and dance in your spirit.
right. I love that. Yes. I would have never known. It makes me really focused and meditative and creative. I just want to write, and paint. But I'm sure it meets everyone differently. So that's the type of medicine that I'll be bringing with cacao, y'all.
Wonderful. Wonderful.
Yes.
So I haven't kept track of time, but I'm feeling like we talked about an hour.
I'm feeling like it's
and we're
I'm
both and we're both fried different ways.
honestly we are. But it's always good to sit with you.
Yes, ma'am. I'm glad that you were available. And what else? What else? We just kind of talked all over the place, which is fine because I think we talk about weird things, and that's not a bad thing. But is there anything that you want to share from your side of the world that's coming up or prevalent or
yeah.
a spiritual heads up or anything? Things that you see that people need to be aware of, maybe?
Yeah. Motorcycles and airplanes. I would give you a heads up on that. Not out of fear, but just to stay vigilant. And as we say in Oakland, stay dangerous. Instead of stay
Mm,
safe, that's what we say. But those are two things that have been coming up.
mm. No, I lived in Oakland, so I know. Stay dangerous is important.
Yeah, but www.therootdoctress.com for my blog posts, my YouTube, The Root Doctress, for sacred site work that I do. And of course, I'll be doing my cacao ceremonies in the Bay Area.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Beautiful. We have been, Deja and I have been trying to figure out how to, because we both do sacred site work. We've been trying to figure out how to do
Yeah.
a mutual live stream from
I love
you go
that.
to one of your sites, me go to one of my sites. You go to an indigenous site, I go there. I go to indigenous site here and or do something, burning or just simply being present. We've been trying to figure out a way to do it, but neither of us are tech savvy enough to figure out how to do it.
I would love to do that. Like, I really want to do that. If anyone has suggestions, please drop a comment.
mean, I I don't know. I know you can live stream on YouTube. I've done it.
Oh, really? Oh, yeah,
But
from your computer, I can.
yeah, and I can from my phone too, but I don't know if I can bring in somebody else during
That's
that. And I tried to do it on Telegram, but it was the same thing. I can only figure out how to live stream me on Telegram. I can't figure out how to get somebody else in. So I don't know, but that would be, even if we just kind of walked around, I don't know, we'll figure it out. There'll be a way to do it.
okay.
Stay dangerous. Yes. So thank you for all that. That was so
Thank you.
interesting, and it was so good to talk to you, because like I feel like we're always exactly on the same wavelength. We just work with different tools and have different names for things, but we're in the same water. I mean, we're all in the same water, but we are really in the same water, you and I,
Mhm.
and all the other uh, merfolk around us.
Yes.
Yeah, I think, I see a lot of water events coming. We talked a little bit of that before we started recording. You seeing water things. I'm seeing massive water things here in Florida, because Florida is one big limestone aquifer. That's all we are, is a big limestone aquifer, and it goes all the way into parts of Alabama that's also limestone aquifer shelves and caves. And I just see not only that glacial water raising the water on the surface, but that the activation of that deep agarthic primary living water is coming up, and it's going to change it already is changing things,
Mhm.
but shit's gonna get real. There are going to be water events like we can't comprehend.
Mhm.
And to that, I just say,
Yep.
pay attention,
Pay attention. That's
pay
correct.
attention, stay dangerous, stay aware, stay in your elemental forces, so that, like, if there's a tropical storm coming through here in Florida, I know when it's going to be bad because I just watch the birds and the insects, right? Even though the news is saying, oh, it's category 5, get out of here. If the birds are flying around, ain't nothing to worry about, right?
Yeah.
So in regards to these water events that I see happening in many places, stay in your elementals. And I don't know if that's advice to your motorcycle thing either.
Motorcycle, airplane. Sure. Yeah. It can be.
Anyway, so thank you, my friend. Yes, www.root, is it The Root Doctress or Root Doctress?
The Root Doctress.
TheRootDoctress.com. She puts out really cool, fun, beautiful videos about her different ceremonies and experiences. And she talks about goofy, weird, elemental, unseen stuff like I do, but even so much more beautiful than I do because of her hoodoo roots. So thank you guys. We're happy you joined us, and we will both see you soon. Thank you, my friend.
Thank you.